Hey everybody, we're
Hello.
discussing like the idea of having a second, and it sounds like the second's job would be to uh, prevent anybody from tampering with the duel.
Well, we were trying to figure out where in the spectrum of dueling etiquette and dueling rules do noble duels on the Russian island fall. And so we had some issues because this is technically a duel between Lord Edwayne and Duchess Ortova
Yeah.
by proxy of champion Jefferson Marwick and Ernest Buck. So how does that work? What kind of rules are there? What kind of rules aren't there? What kind of officiants are part of the duel besides the duelists, etc.
Well, one option is that, similar to how Golden, you were talking about the sort of social web that is nobles. You're just like expected that your champion is trained enough to follow those rules,
Right.
or else you're just not a very good noble and you're not a very good ruler if you're second in command or your champion won't listen to you.
Right.
Or he did listen to you, in which case you're cast down in the eyes of all of the other nobles. So
Exactly.
I think I think that's all we need, with how much emphasis we've placed on that already.
Okay. So I guess like each group would like have a small squad of troops that are nearby enough to the duel to like prevent anyone else from interfering. But other than that, like there's no like one person who's a second.
Yeah, and I think this case is a bit more of an exception, but like if the champion thing is more planned out, you'd probably have like representatives from other, like historically you'd have representatives from the other kingdoms like observing the duel.
Sure, it'd be like a whole
and therefore you have like a political fallout if you disregard the traditions.
Well, now
and
here's the
rules of this thing.
Is that there? Like, did we wait maybe a week or two later? Because it probably wouldn't take very long, and this is sort of the event of the century. There might actually already be ambassadors on one side or another trying to gain favor with who they think will win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there have been backroom deals going on, and
yeah,
wherever the Vegas of Tirmanugnia is, there are odds and bets going on.
Okay.
Yeah. It would make sense there would be some sort of noble representation from some of the other territories, right?
Yeah.
I could see that, but also at the same time, like, I could see wanting it to end quickly so that neither side could, like, have another army show up and then...
Well, it could be part of the duel rules. You have to wait a certain amount of days.
Yeah. Yeah, like
once your last observations. Like I would I would have someone write a letter to. I would have a bunch of letters written to different people to be sent if I died.
Yeah, and like maybe
because I don't think I will die.
Yeah, okay. Maybe once the duel is agreed on, letters go out to all the other rulers to send someone to witness the fight.
Exactly. Okay. The whole thing would probay take either.
And for that interim of waiting for the envoys, it's considered a ceasefire. Like any action by either army is considered a war crime.
Exactly.
At that point.
Right. Sounds good to me.
Okay. So now that we've ironed out the political side of things, let's see what happens when pointy swords meet armor and mace.
Zen, pointy sword might take like 2 hours. I don't think it'll take quite that long. Once we get into the rhythm of things, because we just need to knock each other's armor off, and then.
Yeah, that was before I really got into the rules. This could end in 2 exchanges, actually.
Yeah,
this could end in 2 volleys if the dice are right.
Yes.
Because of the wound penalty thing, and each of our lowest stats is 3. If either of us receive a wound that is minus 3d, that person goes down. They're incapacitated.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and the rules of this fight are to the death, or if someone surrenders. Is that how we're approaching this? Like you can always you
can yield,
beg for mercy. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah. You
I
can
guess,
beg
like,
for mercy.
because it's
And-
Is this a wise check or a rule of law check to like figure out the proper etiquette of duels?
That could be. If you guys want to, if somebody wants to inject their own fiction.
Because I'm just being what I'm told.
I would say
Okay.
that Ernest
Someone else is telling
can
me
take
this.
a captive because that's like part of his.
Okay, so it's not just that they lose; it's that somehow like they're taken captive and captured, and they are taken as consolation to make sure that the other side, now that they lost, will do what they agreed upon.
Right.
Is that it?
Like, I think it is to the death, but you have the option of taking the captive. Like, if you
Okay.
want him as your slave or something like that.
So if they yield, they are yielding. If they yield, they are yielding to be in chains.
Right.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Ernest? You okay with that?
If that was true, I would totally change my belief, actually. Because I would not. I don't.
Is this something like
Actually-
you're trying to go against the traditions in order to take him as your captive and leave him alive, or what?
No, I think I'll keep my beliefs as is. I like that, what you said. Because at first I was saying Ernest would be totally against it, and then I realized who that person is.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Marwicks have ever been slaves, unlike Ernest, and so taking one and making...
Oh, they weren't. Okay. I built him a little wrong then. I thought that the Marwicks, being in the same squad as you, started as slaves as well.
Okay. That's okay. I assumed they weren't, but I didn't explicitly say they weren't. If he was a slave once, I would
Yeah, he was born a slave just like you were.
Well, if...
And maybe that was just him. His brother can still be whatever. Maybe the Mama and Papa Marwick sold off Jefferson.
Yes. Let me...
Like, you don't have to keep him as your slave. You just have the opportunity.
Okay, then
But-
I'll
but-
keep my belief as is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Make a
Because
belief
I
about
think-
freeing him next session.
Yes. Get all the persona.
There you
Except
go.
that I need some sort of challenge to me freeing him instead of just saying,
Or
go to go, go.
or
I will
refusing
listen
to
to
take
Pokemon.
him as a slave could be deeds-worthy.
Well, technically, when you take him as a slave, none of you are his master.
Right.
Is
You're
Edwin-
You're fighting for Path Askew, which means that Edwayne's father would be the one that gains a slave.
Okay.
Okay, that makes things interesting.
It does.
Okay.
Because I mean, Edwayne doesn't rule Path Askew. Well, he rules the town of Path Askew, not the county of Path
Right.
Askew.
Yes.
So
You
This is
going
a man
to
who was
accept
once a
these?
slave and is now free. Ernest is in the same boat as this guy, so as much as he hates his freaking brother, I don't think he hates him that much. Knowing this, may I change my belief, or not?
Fine with it.
to what? I mean, is it a drastic change?
I want, instead of letting him live, I want to kill him honorably, because I think that's for him better.
Okay, so you're basically changing two words, right? So I would show them that honor is not foreign to our people by killing
him
Jefferson.
honorably. Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. It's starting to feel like more and more like you're paying a price for this. Let's continue.
This is kind of paying the price. It's a fellow Continental, and we'll see what happens.
Now, is this because of a trait you have?
No, I think we already know that Ernest hated his time on the continent, and that was because he hates the whole slavery thing. So he's not going to make someone else do that. If it was to Lord Edwin specifically, or to himself, he would consider, because he knows that he considers Edwin a good master. But if it is to someone like Edwin's dad, which we haven't seen much of, and he didn't become a king by not using servants that he has, I think that he would rather not.
Okay.
This belief is totally based on assuming what Jefferson wants. So we'll see what happens. But he thinks that killing someone is better than making them a slave, depending on the master.
Right.
And
So it is
by
it is
default, it's
it is spring now, correct? In our
winter has
setting.
passed.
Okay.
It might be
gonna
summer again.
Yeah, it's late
Summer.
early summer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like middle summer.
Like
All right.
6 months from winter is pretty much always summer.
Well, it's warm and clear today. That's good fighting weather.
One,
Two men in metal armor fight in a thunderstorm. First.
one thing with your belief, Primarch, I just remembered, is like you've continually had beliefs about Duchess Natalia, but now Jefferson is the like,
He is of more interest to me.
but he's also the representative of Natalia. So like, it can be viewed
Politically,
that,
but
yeah.
if you're talking about the don't kill Duchess Natalia, he doesn't consider that to be the same.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's fine. A very good question. Should we begin? Do we have
All
anything else we want to talk about?
No, let's set the stage a little bit so we can get a good visual on it. So yeah, it's a warm, clear summer morning. Up on the battlements of Castle Bryansk, or up on the walls, you can see like the flags of Bryansk and a couple of guards, and a very small frame outlined with the sun behind her. You can see like hair cascading down. The Duchess is on top of the wall looking down. We pan down and over to like a small hill where there's you can see the army encamped behind and around the hill, and on the top of the hill is the command tent where Wiggins is looking out down toward where the duel will be fought. And yeah, where are the other two? Where's Matrim and Edwin in all of this? Are you down close to the duel? Are you up with Wiggins? Are you in a tree? Are you
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask like what does the army camp kind of look like?
You're basically in a very large field. There's a small hill basically like where the green footman icon is. There's a hill there, and that's where the army is encamped. The duel is kind of taking place like at the Bryansk is also like built on some hills. Like it's where the terrain starts to go hilly.
Mm-hmm.
And so the castle is, or the walls rather, are kind of set up even further by the fact that they're on elevation. And at the foot of those hills is where we see the two combatants. There are small patches of trees here and there. It's not like just a wide open thing.
Right. Would there be anything tall in the camp?
Well, you didn't have
observation tower.
There's enough armies that there would be
or like
trees and stuff.
one of those wooden platforms that you use to climb up and go over the walls with.
Yeah, we've been camped here for a while, so we've probably set up some like observation towers near the edges of the camps. One of which are probably near the arena. So
okay,
I'm sure that could work. Or
I'd probably be in one of those then,
okay.
Or like on the roof of it.
It's probably
trying to get a better view. Probably tying and untying knots as I sit there watching.
Okay. How long have you been there? Is that like where you spent the night?
No, probably not.
Okay. Yeah, actually, Ernest was busy the night before. The other two of you, give me a perception test, Ob1. I just want to know what you saw and how well you saw it. Actually, let me. Okay.
I saw some shit.
I saw nothing.
All right. Edwin, as you were coming back from Ernest's tent, because I know last night you were like psyching him up and stuff. You noticed a horse and a rider go down the road, sort of this way, like down this road.
Is it from the city?
You didn't see where it came from, and it was too dark to notice any markings on it.
Okay. I mean, this is a siege, right? So, like, we're trying to, like, keep people from entering and leaving the city.
Yeah.
Alright. So, like, Edwin would, like, remark of that to some of the guards and have them investigate it and see if anyone knows where that rider came from. And how they got past our lines if they came from the city.
Alright, let me make a roll real quick here.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, they report back. Well, one of them, a couple of people, like, head off down the road to see if they can catch up with anybody, but yeah, they report back that they didn't see anything.
Tie goes to the defender, which was the
Okay.
which they were pursuing.
Actually, in a chase that's like they kept distance, and if they didn't catch up to them,
right.
Yep.
Turned back before they got in range of the archers.
Somebody coming from Zelmagorod, I guess. This is the night before, right?
Yes.
Okay. I guess Edwin would order, like, some contingent of the cavalry to, like, head down the road and see if there is, like, anyone coming down the road, like some big armed force. And if not, just come back the following morning.
Okay. So yeah, you send, and we'll just do this. You send them out. All right. So yeah, that's taken care of.
Okay.
So yeah, then swap back to that morning. We center on the two combatants staring each other down, weapons drawn, ready to engage in combat.
Mm-hmm.
Nice job on this page, by the way.
Was it you who did it, Zen?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So I have a question. I have a card stuck in my hand. How do I get rid of it?
I'll just drag it. Okay, I'm stealing your card.
Why does it say? Oh, okay. I got it.
Okay. I gave it to Zen.
Drop it out.
It wouldn't let me do that when I tried to put it back into the deck.
There's another one laying here that we should.
Yeah, that's the card that I just. Yeah, I'm
okay.
scared.
Yeah, just right click on it and say discard. Yeah.
The first thing that we will do, according to the rules, is engage.
Yes, we test and engage to determine who has the advantage when beginning the fight.
This is a huge map.
Yeah,
it's big.
It's because the writing is really small, so like in order to get it, so you can actually see it.
So
I thought these would have been handouts.
Advantage. It's just a versus speed test. However, they're depending on the weapon and stride, of which our strides are the same because we're both human. He will get an advantage over me.
Yep. Yeah, and the reason they're not handouts is again because the writing was so small on them. I made them handouts, and like when you blew them up, you still couldn't read them too well.
Yeah. So he gets a +1 die advantage to me. But here's the thing: my armor, and I think his armor does as well, gives me a penalty to speed rolls.
Yes.
So I'm going to just use the speed macro as is and see if that takes it into account automatically. Because I've never actually made a speed roll.
It does not.
Okay.
No, none of the armor stuff actually factors into anything.
Kind of a shame. But okay, let's do it. So,
okay, let me pull up
let me check.
Jefferson
Combat.
here.
My speed is 3, so I'll be rolling 2 dice. Yes, it's not actually initiative. We act simultaneously.
I'm just trying to differentiate it from the previous speed rolls of the horses.
Okay. Yeah. So for those wondering, this is the first act. Which how do we explain fight? So if you've watched our Duel of Wits, it's actually very similar to that in structure. So each what's it called? Exchange.
Exchange.
Yeah.
Exchange consists of 3 volleys. During each volley, everyone simultaneously does a number of actions. How those actions interact and stuff, we'll talk about later. We'll see that in play. But they all act simultaneously, not one and then another. And then what your opponent is doing will affect how successful you are at doing so. And so at the beginning of each exchange, we will roll for positioning. So this will change. Yeah. This isn't a one-time thing.
This is an engage roll. Engage happens at the beginning of the fight. In every subsequent exchange, there is a positioning roll, which is sort of the same thing, but it references different tables.
It is similar, but it's not the same. You're right. But they are both speed rolls in order to get... myself and Jefferson Marwick have different weapon ranges, which do affect the initial... I'm using a mace, which has a short range, and a shield, which also has a short range. He is using a shield and a longsword, I believe, which has a...
yes.
It's 1 larger in terms of the range measurement than the mace, which means he has a 1 die advantage to his roll. Do you figure out his speed penalty?
Yeah, it's just -1.
Okay, so we both have -1.
I'm just making sure I have all of this correct. And there's one more thing I have to check, because the armor also factors into this.
Tie engagement goes to the longest weapon.
Okay, so that's also a benefit.
Yeah.
So I'll be rolling 2 dice.
Let's see, clumsy weight. In a fight, a shield reduces the this represents my action. Yeah, the shields will reduce.
You'll reduce your advantage. It won't affect your disadvantage.
Any advantage, yeah.
So he has a heater shield, which will reduce it by.
By 1 to a minimum of 1.
By 1.
Or no, 1 to a minimum of 0.
And your great shield, which is mine, is reduced by 2 to a minimum of 0. Cool.
Yep.
I just looked at the advantage-disadvantage position chart.
Okay. Yeah.
If you have a sword and you have advantage against a mace, the mace gets a +1 ob
to everything
for positioning.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a mace and you have advantage against a sword,
doesn't do anything. Yeah.
Doesn't do anything.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right. Well, I will roll first. That way you can put in your ob and get the appropriate rank test to make it easier for you to figure out which tests you want. Yes.
Okay.
What is 2? Your ob is 2.
Shouldn't his modifiers be 0? Because he has the +1 because of his weapon?
The +1 from the weapon, the -1 from the
armor. From the armor, yeah, you're right.
So roll 1 more d6.
Okay, so 3.
So I literally can't succeed this, which is good. All 3 means I get a challenging test on my speed. Which means my speed goes up.
Okay.
Tests are awesome. My speed is 4.
So that means you have a +1 ob. On the volley sheet, the exchange sheet,
yeah,
you have your marker there. You can move him down to, there you go.
And
we can
he
keep
gets
track of
nothing
that.
for his advantage, right?
Well, no,
Yeah, that's for
not yet. That's for positioning,
That's for positioning. Yeah.
which will be negated by his shield, and it will never be +1. But we'll still go through all that.
Okay.
All right. So then we script our actions. Your reflexes is what, Ernest?
My reflexes just went up to 4, I believe, because my speed increased. Yep.
Nice. So you have 4 actions you can divide over 3 volleys. However, you have to divide as evenly as possible. So you have to have at least 1 action in each volley, and the second action can go in any volley.
Okay.
So did we want to have like a no action card so you don't know which volley?
Do we have? I thought we should have. We do have a no action card. Yeah.
It turns out it does not matter because they each must make 1 action per volley.
Actually, we each have an extra action, so we should each draw 2 no action cards because we each have 4 speed divided into 3 volleys.
Yeah.
4 reflexes. So every one should have 2 cards, some of which will be no action cards.
Okay. And this is at this point, I will announce that Jefferson Marwick has an instinct to always start a fight in defensive stance.
Okay.
No, do you actually have to tell us that instinct? That seems kind of weird.
It's because it modifies his beginning stance. Like normally when you start a fight, you're in normal stance. You're in neutral.
Yeah, you always normally start
I see what you mean. Okay.
Oh, no, I don't want that. Take it away. Okay. Is that a thing? Give me a sec, I want to check something.
If you need fight stuff, if you go to fight actions, you can pull up the handout for the specific fight action.
Is weapon skill detailed? Weapon speed, rather, detailed? I know what it is. I just want to know if it counts for what it counts for.
Weapon speed. Okay, how this works is you have a weapon speed of 2 on your mace.
Yeah,
you
so
can only strike twice. You can only strike twice in an exchange. And after you use the maximum number of strikes, your next action cannot be a strike.
Okay.
So, and I think that carries over exchanges. So if like you did it on volley 1 and volley 3, volley 1 of the next exchange, I don't think can be a strike. Jefferson has 4.
Yeah,
for his weapon speed. So
4 times.
Yeah.
But I just want to check something else. Give me a sec. Everything that would be. Whoa. There we go. So before we continue, I think I'm good, but I just want to check something.
Weapon speed. The number indicates how many times the weapon can strike consecutively in a fight. After striking with a weapon a number of times equal to the weapon speed, the player must take a rest action. This rest action cannot be any other action except Great Strike or Strike.
Okay, so
if you switch weapons in an exchange, you're limited to the lowest weapon speed applicable to the moment.
Yeah. So just to clarify there, the first statement said you can strike consecutively that number of times, but the second statement did not include the word consecutively. How do we want to rule that?
Well, it did explicitly say consecutively.
No, you can only strike consecutively that many times. But then it said after you strike the amount of times to your weapon speed, the next action has to be.
The next
So
action must not be.
that's a little ambiguous.
Right,
Ambiguity.
after striking, that's great strike or strike.
Yeah.
That
Is
number
strike
of times.
capitalized? Because that's like the
Yeah.
type of action strike. Okay, so
It's capitalized.
you can't use the action strike.
Right.
Yes.
You must take a rest action, which they say rest action is anything except great strike or strike.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to narrow down right there, though, is does consecutively still apply to the have to rest thing?
What page number is this?
467.
Yeah.
I don't understand the questions and.
Okay, let me get to it real quick. So, weapon speed. Yeah, the number indicates how many times a weapon can strike consecutively in a fight. Period. After striking with a weapon a number of times equal to weapon speed, not consecutively striking, just striking, the player must take a rest action. So, does that mean that if he strikes twice in a volley, does it have to be consecutive in order to trigger that rest, or is it twice in a volley at all?
I think it must be consecutive. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. Like, if you think about it, if it is consecutive, then he needs to rest. If it's not consecutive, then he already has rested. It doesn't make any sense to say he must rest more.
Yeah.
Just because he hasn't attacked consecutively. That makes no sense at all.
I just wanted that to be totally clear. I don't care one way or the other. I just wanted to make sure we nailed that down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, that won't affect me. Give me a sec. Combat. Actually, that's not a strike, so it doesn't matter. I'm good. I'm ready.
Yeah, so the striking thing will also include block and strike, counter strike, because those include strike actions.
I agree with you on. Oh yeah, counter strike does. Yeah, you're right. So yep.
If you check the last sentence of that paragraph again,
block and strike does count as both a block and a strike, as does counter strike.
The rest action can be any other action except great strike or strike. I don't see why a counter strike can't be a rest action.
Because counter strike is a block and then a strike.
It is basically
same as block and strike
together. Yeah, block and strike is just a better version of counter strike, both of which count as striking them with your weapon. I agree with this. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason there are two different, just to avoid any confusion, the reason that block and strike and counter strike both exist, since they're technically the same action, block and strike can only be used with a shield.
And it's better because you're using with a shield.
Well, with shield training, I should say.
With shield training and with shield dice.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you two?
Oh, okay. I read counter strike. Okay, yeah, it does use uppercase strike.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we have our first volley ready to go.
Yes.
We can flip cards.
Yay! Many card flippings.
All right, so we're lined up with a charge tackle and a block and strike.
Yes.
So the first thing to be resolved is the charge tackle, block and strike.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So we go over to the wonderful thing here. We go down to charge tackle and line it up with block and strike.
It's just strike.
Just block.
It would block, yeah. And then his strike
charge versus block.
Yeah.
Is
power test plus 1d. Ob equals half speed. So half of his speed is 2. Right?
Make sure you're going against his card and not your card. The numbers on the stats on your card are what your opponent has to roll against, not what you roll against.
Sorry?
Yes. So my action is a block against his charge tackle, which is nothing. There's no test there.
Yes. my charge tackle against your block says that I make a standard power test plus 1 die. Plus 1 die is just standard for all charges. The ob is half your speed.
Okay. So yes, your ob is then 2.
Okay. So, let's see. Rolling 7 dice against ob 2, I will not spend any persona. I only have technically 2, realistically 1. Base obstacle 2. Okay. So I succeeded by 2 dice. So I don't think we have the... Oh wait, is it down below? Block is...
Charge tackle is a basic fighting action. Alright, the effect. When performing this action, choose whether you're charging your opponent or tackling him.
Charging.
If you charge, you attempt to knock him down, but you remain on your feet yourself. If you tackle, you take your opponent down with you. If you win a versus test, blah, blah, blah. If you win... still versus test.
Oh, you're at a +1 ob.
I am at a plus 1 ob.
So that's a 1 success, not 2.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
We'll try to.
That might actually be a
It does
difficult
matter.
test.
If you... Yeah,
For
if
power,
you-
no, my power
Power.
is 6.
Oh,
If
never
you
mind.
win the versus test, and it's still against base ob 2 because you don't change for penalties.
Yeah.
It's still a routine test. If you win the versus test by 1 or meet your obstacle in a standard test, you stagger your opponent. Okay. If you win the versus test by 2 or exceed your obstacle in a standard test, which you exceeded it, you knock your opponent down. He is off his feet and suffers the appropriate penalties until he rights himself.
Well, in that case, I would like to spend fate because I rolled 2 6s to knock him down. Does that work?
No, you exceeded by
I didn't-
1, correct?
I did exceed by 1. I would like to have exceeded by 2, and I would like to do that by spending fate.
All you need to do is exceed your obstacle in a standard test. The by 2 is for versus.
Oh, okay. Cool. And that means he's knocked down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you achieve the maximum result for
Okay. I wasn't sure.
charge. If you successfully charge, you also take the advantage. Oh. By charging, you changed your weapon
To my shield, which has the same range as
to your
mine.
hands.
Not unless it says you have a shield.
Okay.
Second part. So I have a shield and mace. I'm still using both.
Okay.
So I'd like shield forward. I run forward. While this is going on, he is blocking, which I overcome, but he also gets to strike me.
Yes.
This is probably I don't think this happens immediately. Like he doesn't count as knockdown when he does the strike, does he? I would imagine not.
No, the strike probably happens as you're falling. Like he's not on the ground yet. I would assume because block and strike. If you would strike instead of charged, the block would have gone against your strike, and my strike is technically an unopposed action.
Yes. So if you're, let's see, strike.
Well, he would roll at 1/2 of
What is
Earnest
strike
Fort,
versus
I believe?
charge? Strike versus charge is ob 1.
No, this isn't a strike versus charge. This is just a strike versus nothing.
Wait, why is it?
Because block and strike.
I thought block and strike go off simultaneously. So
do they?
Like it's not as if they're two separate actions. It is literally because you split your dice. It's
right.
You're blocking while I'm charging, tackling, and you're striking while I'm charging, attack.
Okay. So the nice part about not having to split up my dice for that block,
True, is that you get to hit me.
Okay, so at this point it's a strike versus charge tackle.
Jefferson sees that happening, and then he is like, "There's no way I can block this. Might as well see if I can bring him down with me."
Yeah, it's speed versus power plus. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong.
The effect of block and strike. Successes from the block proportion reduce the successes of the opponent's action.
Yeah, but I have no test for against a charge for a block.
Yeah.
Like there's no. I didn't roll shit.
It's a dash. It works against strike and stuff. It doesn't work against block. Blocks are good against weapon attacks, not so good against a charge.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't put You didn't put
Block and strike is confusing.
any into your block pool?
I don't. I have to. How it works is since it's a block and then a strike, you got to look at the block action interaction with the charge tackle. There's no test for that.
Which means that there's no point in putting any dice in, which he knows beforehand. So he doesn't have to put any dice into it. It turns basically into a regular strike. Because the blocking is unaffected.
So I'm at a standard skill test of Ob1 to strike you.
To strike me, yes.
I'm not entirely sure about that.
It
says 1/2 fort, right?
Where are you reading this?
What?
Which table?
On the table for chart.
Yeah, my action is a strike.
On the left. And so follow that down.
Versus a
charge tackle. Standard skill
They're
test.
making a block and strike. Look at the block first. All right.
The block and strike are happening simultaneously.
Right.
Because the block is defensive and the strike is offensive. So the block is a dash because you can't. Yeah.
Because blocking a charge doesn't help.
Where are you seeing that? You're looking at the block chart, right? Obstacles for block.
Your action block on the left of the action interactions chart.
So on the Roll20, not in the book or anything, is this.
But I think on page 444, right, the obstacles for block.
Okay. Does that say the obstacles for block or the obstacles for actions against block? Because sometimes it changes.
Yeah, it says obstacles for block.
Where is it? On 444?
Yeah, charge right there. It has a dash. CHA, charge.
But that means that Ernest doesn't roll against anything.
I wasn't doing so against his block. I was doing so against his strike because it's both. And when it's both, you always roll against the most difficult of the two because they're both happening simultaneously.
Okay, I see. All right.
And that would mean that the block doesn't roll, by the way, because you'd have to look at the charge chart for what Ernest rolls.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so from now on we will highlight the relevant tests in the action.
So because it's Ob1, I don't think there's any point in rolling for your thing, is there? Because that means every single one would succeed.
If I roll successes, because I can still roll.
Somehow thought that meant target number 1, but no, that is not what it means.
No.
Armor has mixed me up because that is target number 1.
It's only target number 1 for when the armor fails. It's still successes are still gauged on 4 or better.
Okay. Oh wow, then he's screwed.
Okay, so let me roll this up here. His sword is 5. I mean, I guess I could fork brawling. Yeah, let's do that. So 6 dice. Versus Ob1. Measly 2 successes.
Okay.
So, with a strike.
I get to say where I'm vulnerable. I'm going to say my torso.
Sorry?
My torso.
Your torso is vulnerable?
Yes. Torso is the part that...
Alright, so you're like charging out with your shield forward, and I'm like getting in underneath your shield and just hitting you. Okay.
From below. And then you can spend successes to move it to another piece of my body if you'd like to.
I do not have I could use one success to move it.
You can move it to, I think, any other part of my body. That's the downside. Torso is more armored, but I think it's just one success to move it to any other part.
Yeah. Let me just check my ad, because that also means that I could potentially make it more dangerous. Got too many things open on the screen here.
Sword ad is 2, according to
2? Okay.
Farming sword.
So yeah, then I will move it to your head.
Okay. So rather than you get around me.
Yep.
It's probably like I hit you with a sword, and you're like, for the split second that Jefferson's body is like being pushed backwards, he can reach over my shield. He's being lifted slightly off into the air before being knocked onto the ground, and he's like takes the opportunity. How much damage would that be? Then
It'll be a B4 wound if you don't make it.
Okay. Armor. You attempted. Oh, I have to select Ernest's token. Okay, no ones either. Sweet. So the armor negates it completely.
Yeah, your armor wards off the blow. The sword glances off of your helmet.
Mm-hmm. He is knocked on the ground. Now, while he does no action, I will do my block and strike. So with him knocked down, what does that do? +1 ob to positioning, defense, basic, and special actions, +2 ob to attacks. So it doesn't affect my ob, it affects his. It doesn't give me any dice. It just affects his, including his ob for defense, but... Okay. Well, since he is doing no action, I will dedicate all of my dice to strike, so it'll just be basically a strike. Against no action... no action, here we go. Strike. It's ob 1 as well.
Yep, standard test of ob 1.
Okay, so... And we can fork and everything, right?
Yeah. And I am going to say I was reading on the boards about wises in fight. Mm-hmm. We should probably only limit it to 1 wise because you can only think about so much crap while you're having a sword swung at your head.
So, modifiers. 1 for brawling, and 1 for soldiering wise, and 1 for tactics.
Is tactics a man-on-man thing, or is it a...
Sure.
No, it's like planning an ambush.
Yeah, I thought it was like squad-based stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I thought we used it when... But I think that we used it when it was me and Zen, your character. That's because I was like keeping you safe while you shot them with the bow. So I think that made sense, but this doesn't. So just 2 for forks. Artha, no thank you. Base obstacle 1. Holy crap!
Wow.
Damn.
Those are all successes.
Holy shit.
Tactics is group fighting, by the way. But wow.
Okay.
Now this fight might be fucking
versus
over.
Armor. Yeah, this might be over. So, I have 8 successes. And how much is my raised thing again? Combat.
You rolled 2 6s, by the way.
I did roll 2 6s. And I do want to put Fate into my mace skill.
A couple things. First, wow.
9 successes.
10 successes, because that was another 6.
Jesus.
And remember,
all right, well,
also he does not have a roll, right?
He does not have anything to defend against
but
this.
He would be at an obs penalty if he had a roll.
Oh, and you're at an ob penalty.
I am at an ob penalty, so it's 9 successes.
Because he's at an obs penalty.
Wait, didn't I just take the advantage from my
add
charge?
Those obs penalties to your roll.
I don't think I have the... Wait, what?
You do have the advantage because you won charge.
Which means I don't think I have that ob penalty anymore, do
I?
No. That is correct.
In fact, it's a bonus to your roll because it would be his obs penalty.
No. I don't think... I disagree with that last part.
No, because he doesn't roll at all?
He doesn't roll at all. It's not like he would roll and fails.
Okay.
It's just ob 1. It's not versus this thing. It is now ob 1. So that is 10 successes because I lose that penalty that I had before. So I have a lot of successes to spend. And I just want to double check. I can spend them to increase my damage, like the add. I can spend them to move body parts. Can I spend them to negate armor?
No.
Or okay. So I'll just
So it's going to be, you're going to move it to a superb. I'm going to say he's probably open. Well, let's see, you threw him to the ground. He's probably open on his legs because his shield would have come down here.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, I will. Yeah, I'll hit his legs. I'll stay on his legs. I will spend 4 of my successes to move it back up to the maximum in terms of damage.
That would be a superb strike.
Yes. I don't think. Is there anything else I can spend successes on?
No.
Okay.
Not
Then,
that I'm aware of.
Legs.
Okay. So I need to roll some armor here, and
What's the mace VA?
I'm rolling it on
Mace
3.
VA is 2. So it's obviously
It's
you
up
need 3
3.
successes with the armor to negate it.
So I get 4 dice for this. Does the shield come into play? Is
Unless
my
you're
question.
blocking, I don't think.
Well, I don't know with the shield training. It might.
You're right.
Let me look up shield training real quick.
It's useful for me to know as well.
Shield training. Allows a character to incorporate a shield into his defense. When performing a strike with a shield, use brawling.
It just allows you to block and strike, basically.
Yeah,
and then there's the push and charge things.
Let me see. Shields in brief. Shields add their dice to block and counter strike. With shield training, shields can also block as the user strikes. VA reduces blah 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 blah. Yep. Okay, it does not. All right. So I need an ob 3 on 4 dice. Well, I got 1.
You got 1 success.
Yep. So what is your superb damage?
Yeah, about that. It's 12. I think I killed him.
A 12?
12.
How the
So my power is 6. Plus 2 from the mace makes it 8. So you first deal half and then equal and then 1.5 for damage.
Well,
so
it does it
12.
automatically. I think that, yeah. All right.
Yeah, it does it automatically. It's
Yeah, he's at a B10.
Wow.
B12, yeah.
Did I one-shot this guy?
Yeah, you
might
alpha
have.
strike.
You might have
alpha
one-shot
strike.
him.
Really
Well,
weird.
Okay.
Did I not put it to mortal? Is that the problem?
His what is mortal?
Oh,
again?
mortal wound doesn't confer wound dice in the tracker.
Is it equal to his mortal? Because that means he might still be alive. Or if it's
No,
past his
it's
No, it
passed
doesn't.
as mortal.
mortal. Okay.
It's insta-dead.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, so how this goes then. Marwick falls to the ground. And how you kill him with a blow to the leg, I don't understand. But
He
I
bleeds
think
out.
somehow. So I
Yeah,
have a very visceral. Yeah, I have a very visceral thing. Like, break a bone, which stabs like his main artery. When it just gets all.
It's probably his
that was
third leg.
so goddamn anticlimactic.
Wow.
Ernest probably like backs up, ready for him to like get up or something, and he doesn't.
He was actually Achilles all along.
Exactly. I hit his Achilles heel, and he died. So that we're expecting that to take like an hour, guys.
Maybe
Oh, look
2.
at the time.
Break time.
All right, break time.
Yeah.
In this break, Zentropy will wonder what he's supposed to do with the rest of tonight's session.
Yes.
And
Suddenly, we're all planning what we're going to do now.
Wow. Okay. We'll be back in 5.